Before we begin, hit like, comment, and subscribe, because what you are about to hear proves something terrifying. Nothing destroys a family faster than greed. Not even blood can protect you when money enters the room. Picture this for just a moment. You're standing on a quiet riverside bridge at sunset, the last place your father ever took you before he died. Behind you are the two people you trusted most, your own brothers. You turn because you hear your name. And the next thing you feel is a violent shove and freezing water swallowing you whole. All of it, because of a will you never asked for. But that moment, that fall, was only the beginning of everything that followed. Ethan was 13 when his father, Henry Cole, took his last breath. The man who raised him, taught him strength, taught him kindness, and taught him that family meant everything, vanished from the world in a quiet hospital room. There were no dramatic final speeches, no cinematic lightning in the sky, just a slow, painful silence, and the faint beeping of machines fading one after another. The day of the funeral felt strangely cold, even though the sun burned hot above the cemetery. People filled the quiet space with carefully measured tears and heavy sighs. Black clothes, whispered condolences, and forced embraces filled every corner. Ethan stood between his older brothers, Marcus and Daniel, two towering figures who once looked unshakable and proud. But on that day, they looked like statues carved from anger and grief. Not once during the funeral did Marcus or Daniel place a hand on Ethan's shoulder. Not once did they speak to him. Their jaws remained tight, their eyes sharp, and their silence louder than any shout could ever be. Ethan tried to convince himself that grief was different for everyone, maybe they were just hurting too deeply to say anything. But deep inside, something felt wrong. A week later, Ethan found himself sitting in a polished conference room in their father's attorney's office. The room smelled like old books and leather chairs, and the tall windows let in faded sunlight that fell across stacks of legal documents. On the wall hung photographs of the attorney shaking hands with important-looking people. It was the kind of place where futures were decided quietly, without drama. Ethan sat at the end of a long wooden table, swinging his legs nervously, while Marcus and Daniel flanked him, silent, stiff, and unreadable. Their expressions looked carved from stone. The attorney, Mr. Wallace, cleared his throat and placed a single sealed envelope on the table. His voice was steady, calm, almost too calm. Your father's final will, signed 3 months before his death. The air in the room shifted, thicker, colder. Ethan swallowed hard. He already felt out of place. He had always been the quiet one, the smallest, the one who stayed home while his brothers went out with friends. He never expected anything from this meeting, never even thought about inheritance. He just missed his father. That was enough. But Marcus leaned forward abruptly, resting his elbows on the table. Let's get this over with, he snapped. Daniel's eyes were narrowed, restless. Just read it, he muttered. Mr. Wallace opened the envelope, unfolded a crisp sheet of paper, and began to speak. I, Henry Cole, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this my final will and testament. Marcus leaned back in his chair, confident. Daniel crossed his arms, waiting. Ethan stared at the table surface, tracing circles with his fingertip to control the shaking in his hands. Then the words broke the air like glass shattering. To my youngest son, Ethan Cole, I leave full ownership of the Cole family estate, including the house, land, vehicles, financial accounts, and all assets belonging to the Cole legacy. The room froze. The attorney continued reading, but the words turned into distant echoes. Ethan looked up slowly. Marcus's jaw tightened so sharply a muscle twitched beside his ear. Daniel's hands trembled against the surface of the table. Their eyes turned toward Ethan, not blank, not confused, burning. The attorney finished the reading and looked up gently. I understand this may come as a surprise. But Henry was very clear in his intentions. Ethan is to receive everything upon reaching legal adulthood. Until then, I will serve as executor. Marcus and Daniel are listed as guardians and custodians of the estate. Guardians. Custodians. Not inheritors. The air felt suffocating. Marcus leaned forward, voice low and venomous. You're telling us everything our father built, goes to him. A kid. Daniel's eyes locked onto Ethan like he was something repulsive. He doesn't deserve any of it. He didn't earn anything. Ethan opened his mouth, voice trembling. I didn't ask for this. I didn't even know. Enough, Marcus snapped, slamming his fist against the table so hard the pens rattled. Mr. Wallace raised a hand calmly. Henry believed this was the best decision for your family. There were reasons, which he explained in a personal letter. When Ethan turns 18, he will receive it. Daniel let out a cold, humorless laugh that echoed sharply. We'll see about that. The brothers stood abruptly, pushing their chairs back. The hard scrape against the floor made Ethan flinch. Without another word, they walked out, leaving the door swinging open behind them. Mr. Wallace placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. Your father loved you deeply. Remember that. But the words felt fragile, like thin glass attempting to cover a growing fire. When Ethan stepped outside the building, the afternoon sun felt blinding. Marcus and Daniel were already arguing near the parking lot, voices sharp and furious, hands moving wildly. When they noticed Ethan watching, they stopped instantly. Their expressions turned flat, hollow. Marcus stepped closer, forcing a smile so fake it looked painful. We're heading home. Come on. Daniel opened the car door without looking at him. Ethan hesitated. Something dark moved behind their silence. Something dangerous. Something he couldn't understand. And it was only the beginning. The days following the reading of the will shifted the atmosphere in the house like a storm slowly tightening in the sky. The Cole family home had always been warm, a place where laughter used to echo across the living room, and where weekend mornings smelled like pancakes and coffee. But now, the walls felt colder, the rooms empty, and the silence heavy enough to crush breath. Ethan woke up early that Monday morning, expecting maybe things would feel normal again. He brushed his teeth, packed his school bag, and walked downstairs hoping to see his brothers sitting at the table like they always did. But instead, he found Marcus and Daniel standing by the kitchen counter whispering intensely. Their voices stopped abruptly when they noticed him. Marcus glanced at him without expression. Breakfast is in the fridge, he muttered flatly, grabbing his keys. Daniel stared at him for a few moments, long enough to make Ethan's heart pound, before he walked past as if Ethan did not exist. The front door shut behind them, the slam echoing through the house like thunder. Ethan stood alone in the silence, staring at the half-empty mugs on the counter. His father used to say, "A house without kindness is just walls and wood." And right now, this house felt like a trap. Later that night, the tension thickened even more. Ethan sat at the dining table doing homework while Marcus and Daniel argued in the living room. Their voices were low but heated, like they were trying to keep from exploding. You think I'm going to sit and wait years for that kid to inherit everything? Daniel hissed. Marcus's voice was sharper. Calm down. We'll figure it out. Figure what out? We get nothing while he gets the house, the business, and the money. He's nobody. He's a child. You think I don't know that? Marcus snapped. But yelling isn't going to change anything. Ethan froze, pencil shaking in his hand. He wanted to stand up, to walk in there, to tell them he never wanted any of this. But fear glued him to the chair. Something was wrong, not just anger. There was something colder in their tone. Something dangerous. That night at dinner, the silence was unbearable. Ethan forced himself to speak. I'm sorry about all this, he whispered. If I could change it, I would. Marcus set his fork down slowly, looking up with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Don't worry about it, little brother. We're family. Everything's fine. Daniel nodded with the same empty smile. We just need time. That's all. But Ethan could see the hate burning silently behind their calm faces. The kind of hate that grows slowly and waits for the right moment to strike. The next few weeks only became stranger. Marcus and Daniel stopped talking to him entirely. They would walk into rooms and pretend he wasn't there. They stopped asking if he needed help with school. They stopped sitting with him at meals. Sometimes one of them would watch him from across the room silently, with an expression that made his stomach twist. One evening, Ethan walked into the living room and saw the family photos removed from the wall. Every frame that once held pictures of the three brothers together was gone. Even the framed photo of Ethan and his father by the fishing lake, gone. He found them in the trash outside. Carefully thrown away. He picked the photo from the pile, wiping dirt from his father's face. Something inside him cracked, soft but deep. He carried the picture back to his room and tucked it under his pillow. It was the only thing in the world that felt safe anymore. One night, Ethan overheard a conversation that made his blood freeze. He had gone downstairs to get water and saw the kitchen light still on. Voices drifted from the other room, the dry, hushed tone of a conversation that wasn't supposed to be heard. How long are we supposed to wait? Daniel whispered harshly. As long as it takes, Marcus replied. We can't make a move until we are sure there are no loose ends. We don't need to wait, Daniel snapped. He's already alone. No one checks on him. No one calls. No one visits. He's practically invisible. Don't be stupid, Marcus growled. If something happens to him now, it will all go to legal guardianship. We need something cleaner. Something permanent. Permanent. The word punched the air out of Ethan's lungs. He covered his mouth, holding his breath, and backed away slowly, careful not to make a sound. His hands trembled violently. His heart pounded against his ribs so hard he thought they would hear it. Just trust me, Marcus said. We'll handle it. And when it's done, everything becomes ours. Ethan did not sleep that night. His room felt too small, too suffocating, too close to danger. He sat pressed against the wall, knees to his chest, trying to figure out what to do. He wanted to run away. He wanted to scream. He wanted someone, anyone, to tell him that none of this was real. But the world outside was silent. And he had no one. The next morning, the house felt even colder. When Ethan walked into the kitchen, Marcus and Daniel stood side by side, staring at him with identical blank expressions. Marcus spoke first, voice calm but chilling. After school today, we are going somewhere special. The place Dad used to take us. You remember the river bridge? Ethan felt his throat tighten. Yes, he whispered. Daniel smiled thinly. Good. We thought you might want to talk. Clear the air. Every instinct inside Ethan screamed to say no. To run. To hide. But he nodded slowly because refusing would only make things worse. Marcus grabbed his shoulder, squeezing harder than necessary. We are glad you're willing to fix things. Family should stick together. Ethan held his breath. Yes. Family. But the word felt poisoned. That school day passed like a blur. Ethan couldn't focus on anything his teachers said. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. His pencil snapped twice. People asked if he was okay and he forced a smile every time, even though he felt like he was suffocating. At lunch, he sat alone, replaying the conversation he had overheard. Permanent. We'll handle it. Everything becomes ours. He wasn't naive anymore. This wasn't anger or jealousy. This was something darker, something that could take everything from him, including his life. He thought about going to the school counselor. He thought about telling a teacher. He thought about running away. But every time the idea reached his lips, fear stopped him. What if they didn't believe him? What if telling someone made his brothers act faster? What if he really had no escape? Ethan felt like he was trapped underwater, unable to breathe, watching the surface drift farther away. When the final bell rang, Marcus and Daniel were already waiting by the school gates. Their expressions were strangely calm, almost cheerful. Marcus waved at him, smiling like a proud older brother. "You ready?" he asked. Ethan nodded slowly, pretending nothing was wrong. He climbed into the backseat of the car. Daniel turned around and smiled. "Today's important," he said quietly. "For all of us." Ethan forced a nod, gripping the edge of the seat tightly. His heart thudded wildly in his chest. The car pulled away from the school, heading toward the long winding road that led to the river, the place their father used to take them fishing on warm summer evenings. Ethan remembered laughing there, remembered skipping stones across the water, remembered his father's voice saying, "No matter what happens, promise me you'll stay kind." He wondered what his father would say now. Would he tell him to fight? Would he tell him to run? Would he tell him to forgive? The sun dipped lower as they drove, painting the sky in shades of red and orange, the kind of colors that looked beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The closer they got to the bridge, the colder Ethan felt. His palms sweat. His breathing faltered. Marcus parked the car near the riverbank and stepped out. "Come on," he said softly. "Let's walk." Daniel opened Ethan's door for him, smiling too wide, too calm. Ethan stepped out, every instinct screaming. This was it. Something was coming. Something irreversible. And he was completely alone. The air felt colder near the river, the kind of cold that slipped straight beneath the skin, icy enough to make Ethan shiver even though the sun was still touching the horizon. The world around them was silent except for the soft flow of water and the wind brushing through dried brown leaves. The bridge stretched across the wide river like a quiet shadow, its old wooden boards creaking under the weight of memories. Ethan remembered being here with his father on long summer evenings. They would sit at the edge of the water, shoes off, feet dangling into the cool stream. His father would tell stories about bravery, about choosing love over anger, about forgiveness being stronger than revenge. Those memories were sunlight. Now, the same place felt like night. Marcus shoved his hands into his coat pockets and walked ahead. Daniel followed behind Ethan, steps slow but deliberate, like someone closing the last door of a long hallway. Ethan inhaled shakily. "Stay calm. Don't let them see fear. Don't show weakness." But his heartbeat pounded so loudly he felt it in his ears. When they reached the center of the bridge, Marcus finally stopped. The three of them stood side by side, the wind pushing against them gently like unseen hands. For a moment, none of them spoke. Only the river moved below, swirling softly, black and cold. Marcus leaned against the railing, pretending to admire the water. "Do you ever think about Dad when you're here?" he asked suddenly. Ethan swallowed hard. "Every time." Daniel rested his elbows on the rail. "He loved bringing us here," he said calmly. "Said it was his favorite place." "Yes," Ethan whispered. "He said the river made him feel at peace." Marcus turned his head slightly, studying him. "He trusted you a lot, didn't he?" Ethan hesitated. I guess so. He trusted all of us." "Did he?" Marcus asked, voice sharper now. "Because it doesn't seem that way." Daniel nodded slowly, staring into the water. "He trusted you with everything. And he left us nothing. Something in the air shifted, the way the wind changes right before a storm. Ethan's fingers tightened around the wooden rail. I didn't ask for any of that, he said softly. I never wanted to replace you. I never wanted to take anything from you. Marcus let out a breath that was half laugh, half anger. But you did. Whether you wanted to or not. Silence. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, trying to steady the shaking inside his chest. When he opened them, Marcus was facing him fully now, his eyes colder than the river below. You have no idea how hard we worked, he said quietly. How much we sacrificed. While Dad spent his time babying you, we were the ones dealing with the world. We were the ones building everything he built. And then he hands it all to you. Just like that. Daniel stepped closer. You think you deserve any of this? You think you're better than us? The words hit like punches. Ethan stepped back slightly, breath tightening. No, he whispered. I don't think I'm better. I never thought that. I just. Marcus cut him off quickly. You're lying. Ethan looked between them, and for the first time in his life, he saw them completely. Not as brothers. Not as family. But as strangers wearing the faces of people he once trusted. Fear climbed his spine like ice. Daniel leaned closer, his voice dropping into a whisper. This isn't your world, Ethan. You don't belong in it. Dad made a mistake. Marcus's jaw tightened. And we are going to fix it. Before Ethan could move, Daniel grabbed the front of his jacket, shoving him violently against the railing. The impact knocked the air from his lungs. His back hit the wood so hard he gasped. Stop, please, Ethan choked. Marcus stepped forward, placing both hands on Ethan's shoulders, pressing him harder toward the edge. You'll thank us someday, he said softly, almost sadly. You're not built for this life. You're weak. And weak people break. The river below roared louder, no longer gentle, now sounding like a monster waiting with open jaws. Ethan's eyes widened. Please. I don't want to die. Please don't do this. Marcus leaned closer, his breath cold. This isn't personal. It's necessary. Then it happened. A violent shove. Hands releasing him. Air disappearing. The world tilted. The sky spun upside down. The railing vanished from beneath his fingers. For a split second, he felt suspended in nothingness, weightless, breathless, frozen in time. Then gravity pulled him down. The wind rushed past his ears like a scream swallowed by silence. The water rose up to meet him fast, black, cold, merciless. His body slammed into the river, shock tearing through him like electricity. The cold punched every part of him at once. His lungs seized. His mind exploded with panic. He kicked wildly, struggling to reach the surface, but the current dragged him down, twisting him violently. I'm going to die. I'm going to die here. This is how it ends. His chest burned with fire. His throat spasmed, fighting to keep water out. The river pulled him deeper, darker, crushing him with pressure. His arms thrashed, his legs kicked, but nothing worked. His vision blurred, the world dissolving into black shapes and bubbles. I don't want to die. Please, God, I don't want to die. Dad, help me. Please. His father's voice echoed faintly in his mind. When the world tries to drown you, don't give up. Fight. Even when you think you can't anymore. Fight. Ethan forced his arms forward, pushing against the current, clawing upward blindly. His chest screamed. His muscles trembled. He didn't know which direction was up or down. He reached again, stretching for something, anything. His fingers brushed the surface for a second. Light? Air? But the current yanked him back under, spinning him violently. His lungs convulsed. His strength collapsed. His vision dimmed until only darkness remained around the edges. "This is it. I'm sorry, Dad. I tried." The darkness closed in. Then, something grabbed his arm. A hand. Strong. Tight. The darkness shattered. The world jerked upward violently as someone pulled him toward the surface, dragging him through the freezing water. Ethan burst through the surface, choking, gasping, coughing violently as air ripped painfully back into his burning lungs. "It's okay, breathe, I've got you," a voice said urgently, struggling against the current, pulling Ethan toward the riverbank. Everything blurred. He clung weakly to the arm around him, unable to speak, body shaking uncontrollably. The air felt sharp in his throat. He coughed water, eyes unfocused, tears mixing with the river. The stranger pulled him onto the muddy bank, rolling him onto his side so he could cough more water out. Ethan gasped, trembling so hard his teeth clattered. "You're safe," the voice said again. "You're safe now. I saw everything." Ethan blinked hard through blurred vision, turning his head slowly. A man knelt beside him, mid-30s, worn jacket, wet to the skin from pulling him out. The stranger held up a small device, glinting under the remaining sunlight. "A phone. I recorded everything," he said, breathing heavily. "Every second. Your brothers, every word, every move. They are not getting away with this." Ethan's body convulsed with cold and shock. He stared at the stranger, unable to speak, barely able to breathe. Tears streamed down his face uncontrollably, hot against his freezing skin. The man rested a steady hand on his shoulder. "You survived. That's what matters now." Ethan collapsed forward slightly, sobbing helplessly, every fear, every betrayal crashing out of him. He wasn't dead. Someone saw. Someone saved him. But above, on the bridge, Marcus and Daniel had just realized he didn't drown. The stranger's expression hardened. "We need to go. Now? Before they come down here." Ethan nodded weakly. His body shook as the stranger helped him stand. His brothers had tried to kill him. His world was gone. But something new sparked inside him, small, fragile, but burning. Not anger. Not hate. Survival. And the quiet promise his father once whispered. Fight. The blur of flashing lights was the first thing Ethan truly processed after everything went dark. A siren wailed somewhere above him, but it felt distant, like it belonged to another world. His lungs burned. His body shivered. His thoughts flickered like a dying candle. But he was alive. People crowded along the riverbank. Police officers shouting. Paramedics kneeling beside him. He lay wrapped in a foil blanket, barely able to move, barely able to understand anything other than the fact that the sky was no longer underwater. A stranger was crouched in front of him, dark jacket soaked to the sleeves, breathing heavily, fear and relief mixed in his eyes. "You're okay," the man said, voice steady but shaken. "You're safe now. I saw everything." Ethan blinked, trying to anchor himself to the moment. His heart stumbled in his chest as he remembered the bridge, the sudden shove, the cold rush, his brothers' faces disappearing above him. Marcus. Daniel. Two names now carved into him like wounds. The stranger leaned closer. "My name is Oliver Grant. I recorded the entire thing. I called the police the moment I realized what they were doing." He reached into his pocket and lifted a phone sealed in a waterproof pouch. "This has the truth. They won't get away with what they tried." Ethan's breath trembled. The world blurred again, not from the river this time. This was grief, betrayal, and shock all racing to overwhelm him. He tried to speak, but his teeth chattered too violently for words to form. The paramedic interrupted gently. Save your strength, okay? We are taking you to the hospital. Ethan's vision dimmed again, as they lifted him onto a stretcher. The last thing he saw before the ambulance doors closed was Oliver handing the phone to the police, jaw clenched with determination. Everything was now out in the open. The river hadn't drowned the truth. Now came the consequences. Morning light cut through the thin hospital curtains by the time Ethan woke again. Machines beeped softly beside him. A nurse noticed his eyes open and quickly called for a doctor. You're a strong kid, the nurse said kindly. You're safe here. Safe? That word felt foreign now. The doctor checked him over, talking gently. You inhaled a lot of water, but there is no permanent damage. You need rest and warmth. Rest. Warmth. Safety. All the things a home should have given him. Not this place of strangers and sterile lights. When the doctor left, Ethan pulled the blanket tighter around himself, trying to stop the shaking not from cold anymore, but fear. The image of the river kept forcing itself into his thoughts. The feeling of falling. The silence after the push. The realization that his own brothers wanted him gone. A knock interrupted the storm inside his head. Oliver stepped in slowly, careful not to startle him. He carried a paper cup of hot chocolate. I figured you might need something warm, he said, setting it gently on the bedside table. Ethan struggled to sit up. Oliver helped him adjust the pillows. For a moment, they both sat in silence. Why did you help me? Ethan finally whispered. Oliver took a breath. I was walking my dog. I saw 3 boys on the bridge. You looked uneasy, so I kept watching. Then I saw what they did. He paused, anger tightening his jaw. I couldn't just stand there. Ethan stared into the cup, watching the steam swirl. His voice cracked. They are my brothers. I'm sorry, Oliver said quietly. No one deserves that. Especially not from family. Ethan looked away, tears welling. He hated crying in front of anyone, especially now. The world already felt heavy enough without his emotions spilling over. But Oliver didn't judge him. He sat still, present, patient. Do you want me to stay, he asked softly, or should I give you some space? Ethan shook his head immediately. Please don't go. Oliver nodded, pulling up a chair. By the afternoon, 2 detectives entered the room, badges visible but voices gentle. We are very happy you're okay, Detective Harper said. We need to talk with you about what happened at the river. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. His fingers tightened around the blanket. Oliver placed a reassuring hand on the bed, not touching him, just close enough to remind him he wasn't alone. Ethan spoke slowly, haltingly, replaying every detail that led to the river. The will. The silence. The arguments. The promises of reconciliation. The walk on the bridge. The push. The detectives listened carefully, writing notes, but never pressuring him. When he finished, Detective Harper nodded. We already have the video from Mr. Grant, she said. It clearly shows them pushing you over the railing. Ethan's heart shook. Marcus. Daniel. Arrested. For trying to take his life. They are currently in custody, the second detective explained. We will move forward with charges. You are protected now. Protected. But protection didn't erase betrayal. Protection didn't bring trust back. Protection didn't stop nightmares. Later that evening, after the detectives left, Ethan stared at the white ceiling tiles above him. The room felt too quiet again. Every drip from the forebag became a reminder of time moving forward whether he was ready or not. He used to think brothers were supposed to protect each other. Share their fears. Defend their home. carry memories of the same father who taught them to be strong. But now those memories felt like lies. His father would be heartbroken if he knew the truth. Or maybe he knew something already. Maybe that was why he changed the will. A nurse entered gently. "There's someone else here to see you." Ethan tensed. "Who?" "Your father's attorney, Mr. Wallace." He approached with concern etched into his face. "Ethan, I came as soon as I heard. I'm so sorry this happened." Ethan swallowed hard. "It's my fault. The will ruined everything." Mr. Wallace leaned forward, shaking his head firmly. "No. The will did not create greed. It revealed it." Ethan looked away, fighting tears. He didn't want truths. He wanted his dad back. "I know this is painful," the attorney continued, "but you must understand, your father made his decision because he saw something important in you. He knew your heart was different. Different. Soft. Kind. Vulnerable. Maybe that was why he was the target." Mr. Wallace stood and placed a sealed envelope on the table. "This is for you," he said gently. "Your father asked me to give it to you when the time was right." Ethan stared at the envelope as though it might disappear. His father's handwriting curved across the paper like a voice from the past calling out to him. "When you're ready," Mr. Wallace added softly, "open it." Then he left, closing the door quietly behind him. Night settled over the hospital, stars hidden behind clouds. Oliver stepped out to call home, leaving Ethan alone in the dim room. The envelope remained untouched on the table beside him, terrifying and comforting all at once. He traced a finger over his father's name. The man who raised him with love. The man who trusted him with everything. The man who died without telling him why. Was this letter the answer? Or another burden? The door suddenly opened again, not Oliver, not a nurse, Detective Harper returned. "There's something you should know," she said gently. "Your brothers have been interviewed. They didn't ask if you were alive. They only asked about the inheritance." Ethan's chest tightened painfully. She continued. "They believe they did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Because greed blinded them so deeply, they could no longer recognize Ethan as family. Just an obstacle." Detective Harper rested a supportive hand on the bed. "You are not alone in this. And justice is already moving." After she left, Ethan curled toward the wall, trying to breathe through the ache spreading through him. He hated that even now, a part of him missed them, missed the brothers he used to know, or thought he knew. Trust, once shattered, cannot be repaired, it has to be rebuilt. But some people choose to remain broken. The door opened one more time, Oliver returned, eyes kinder than the moonlight that followed him in. "You looked lonely," he said, sitting back down. Ethan whispered, voice trembling, "I don't know how to feel." Oliver nodded. "You survived. That's enough for today." Ethan closed his eyes, letting those words settle somewhere inside him. He didn't know what tomorrow would look like. He didn't know what the trial would reveal. He didn't know how to heal from betrayal this deep. But tonight, for the first time since his father died, someone chose him. Chose to stay. Chose to care. And tomorrow, the truth would continue unfolding. The courtroom was silent, so silent that even breathing felt like betrayal. Rows of strangers leaned forward, waiting, hungry for the final blow. Camera lights glared from every corner, reporters whispering like vultures circling something already half dead. Jamal sat at the defense table, shoulders tense, wrists clasped tightly together. His eyes looked empty, not defeated, but hollow, carved by months of accusation and abandonment. Across the aisle sat Victoria, surrounded by her father's legal army, face dry and cold as ice. No tears. No remorse. No hesitation. And then the doors opened. Gasps erupted. Whispers spread through the room like wildfire. A girl walked in, small, trembling, wearing a simple cream hoodie and jeans. Her face was bruised, healed but visibly scarred. Her hands shook. Each step was a battle. The judge raised a brow. "State your name." Her voice cracked. "Amelia Brooks." Victoria's face shattered. Even Jamal looked confused, he had no idea who she was. The judge nodded gently. "And why are you here?" Amelia swallowed, tears breaking loose. "I'm here because I'm alive, only because he helped me." She pointed directly at Jamal. The courtroom shifted. Whispers became thunder. Victoria's father stood abruptly. "Objection. This witness was not on the list." The judge slammed the gavel. "Sit down. Let her speak." Amelia wiped her eyes. 3 months before Victoria accused Jamal, I was attacked in an alley behind Solace nightclub. I screamed for help. People walked past me. Cars drove around me. No one stopped. Except him. She turned back to Jamal. "You don't remember me because you never asked for thanks. You carried me to the hospital. You paid my bill. You told me I mattered." Victoria looked like she might faint. Amelia continued, voice sharpening. "Someone recorded part of what happened, but the security cameras were owned by Victoria's father. He made them disappear. He didn't want the world to know his daughter was involved in what happened that night." The judge leaned forward. "Are you telling this court that the evidence connecting this incident was intentionally destroyed?" Amelia nodded. "I saw Victoria there. I saw what she and her friends did. They hurt people because they thought they were untouchable. And when Jamal saved me, they blamed him so the truth would never come out." The judge motioned to the clerk. "Bring the drive." Amelia pulled a tiny flash drive from her pocket, hands shaking. "This was hidden by a nurse who took pity on me. She kept a backup of the hospital security footage. I was too afraid to speak, until now." Jamal closed his eyes, fighting back overwhelming emotion. Victoria jumped to her feet. "She's lying. She's insane." Her father grabbed her arm, forcing her down. His face was pale. He knew it was over. The video played. No one spoke. No one blinked. The truth was loud without a single word. Jamal's lawyer stood calmly. "Your Honor, we request immediate dismissal and arrest of the responsible parties." Reporters scrambled. Cameras flashed. Chaos erupted. The judge struck the gavel 3 times. "Case dismissed. Mr. Rivers, you are free to go. And for those who manipulated this court, justice is coming." Jamal exhaled, slow, trembling, unbelieving. As the guards removed his restraints, Amelia stepped forward. "You saved my life. Today I saved yours." For the first time in months, Jamal smiled, small, tired, but real. He walked toward the exit, sunlight spilling through the glass doors like a blessing, like freedom itself. Everyone watched him leave, speechless. Because in a world that tried to bury him, he walked out unbroken. And they didn't know. The world had just met a man who could not be destroyed. If this story moved you, do not leave silently. Share your voice. Share your strength. Like, comment, subscribe. More real-life inspired emotional thrillers are coming. Because sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. And justice arrives when you stop expecting it.